would to be able to see but not to have any vision. They want to do, instead of going through a lot of the details about what to say to people and things, the first thing you need to do is have belief in yourself. Because if you don't have belief in yourself, you're never going to do any of the other things. You know, you just aren't going to do it. And so you got to create your vision of what is it that you're trying to do and what are you trying to go. You got to have a good self-image. Because if you don't have a good self-image of yourself, how can you teach anybody else anything? If you have a low self-image, nobody's going to want to follow you. And so that makes me think of the story of a lion. The lion gets up in the morning, he's really feeling good. And he goes outside, and first thing he sees is a giraffe. He looks up at the giraffe and he says, "Who's the king of the jungle?" The giraffe looks down and says, "You're the king of the jungle." Everybody knows that. Yeah, don't forget it. Now he's feeling pretty good. He goes a little bit farther, and he comes up to the monkey. Going through the trees, he looks up and says, "Who's the king of the jungle?" And the monkey looks down, "You're the king of the jungle." Everybody knows that. Yeah, and don't forget it. Now he's got a lot of self-affirmations. He's really feeling pretty good. He comes up to the elephant and says, "Okay, who's the king of the jungle?" The elephant looks down, takes her trunk, wraps it around him, and slams him against a tree. Whoa! Maybe she didn't understand the question. Ask her again. Said, "Who's the king of the jungle?" Elephant reaches down, picks him up, bam, against the tree again. Then he gets up and he goes, "Oh man, you don't have to get mad just because you don't know the right answer." Well, you see, how many of us go through life happy or sad by what somebody else says? You get up in the morning, if it's a rainy day, you're sad, or somebody did something, burnt your toast or whatever. You know what my goal in life has always been? To be loved in our family as much as our dog. If I could be loved as much as our dog, I have arrived. Have you ever noticed how much people love their pets?
It's true.
Okay, this was many years ago. My daughter was young. And I'm sitting there reading the paper. She comes home from school. And who's the first one to meet her? It's the dog. It's a little 5-pound dog, a little white dog. Yip, 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 yip. The dog's doing flips. And just so excited, she picks up the dog, kisses the dog right on the lips. I mean, oh. She knew where that dog had been. And they're just so happy. The dog's just, yep, 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 so happy. And she sets the dog down. It's just all this stuff. And she starts to walk away. And I go, "Hi, Tiff." She goes, "Hi, Dad." Walks away. I go, "Wait, time out. Come back here. What do you want?" I says, "Why don't you talk to me like you talk to the dog? This is true." And she said, "You don't wag your tail." What? I gotta wag my tail? And I thought, you see, let me write this up here. Write this up here. People expect. Animals accept. Isn't that true?
Yep.
See, when that rabbit gets up in the morning, he doesn't care whether it's a snowy day, a rainy day, a sunny day. He just goes out and it's a rabbit. It's just bouncing around. Our dog, the dog doesn't care if it's snowing outside or what the weather's like. I mean, you can step on the dog's foot and he'll come up and lick your toes. Try that with your husband or wife. See what happens. You know? I mean, you know, animals accept, and we need to do the same thing more. You know, we need to have our own self-image strong enough that is not relying upon other people to give us approval of ourselves. And most of us do that. And I'm teaching this stuff. See, this is more important than all the other stuff you can learn. Because you can know all the techniques in the world. If you're afraid to go out and use it, it's not going to do any good. You see? And so you have got not to rely on other people for your self-image, okay? And celebrate your life and who you are. Every one of us is different. I learned that as a photographer as I traveled around the world. I've been on camel caravans in the Sahara. I've been on jungle rides through, on elephants. I've climbed the Great Pyramids. I've been on the Great Wall of China. And some of the happiest people I see are the poorest people. That's what's amazing. They're sweeping their dirt floors to keep them clean because they keep it hard. And our one-room houses with hammocks that go across it in Panama. And I mean, money isn't evil by any means. It can help you do a lot of good things. But it's not money alone that brings you happiness. And in our business, you need to keep your eye on the mission and not the commission. Because if you keep your eye on the mission, it'll get you to where you want to go. And you know my definition of TV? An electronic income reducer. That's what it is. If you want to increase your QV, decrease your TV. Remember that. And so, you're unique. You're one of a kind. I shot this in the Netherlands. My wife was with me when we did this. You're one of a kind. Nobody else is like you anywhere in the world. And so celebrate that difference that you are. Don't try to be like everybody else. Walt Disney said, the more you like yourself, the less you're like anyone else, which makes you unique. Okay? So, life isn't chance, a roll of the dice. We decide what we're going to be and what we're going to do with our lives. I learned that from where I started and where I am today. I had every strike against me. Now, some people had a lot worse than I did. And I think about them too. But you know, I had no high school education. I went on to much different. I went through college and things because I wanted to do something with myself. I started reading the books, Think and Grow Rich. There's a book everybody ought to read over and over again. I've got it on my Kindle and I'm reading it again on this trip. It goes back to choice. You decide what your life is going to be. Let me show you what I mean. Your choices have put you where you are. And once you decide that, your life's going to change. You see, your actions are made up of habits. Your habits are made up of reflexes, and your reflexes are learned by repetition. Now, I just shared some of those with you a little bit ahead of time. And so, the idea of repetition, let me just go through this real quick. I already talked about it. I love this one. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, well, what if I fail? What then? I'll never live it down. I mean, how many times did Thomas Edison fail trying to improve the light bulb? 8 to 10,000 times? I mean, that's the way life is. Everything's not going to be perfect all the time, but it's the people that keep going that are successful. Don't let your past write your future. Most people do. They're still chained to their past and they think about it. So you decide where it is that you want to go. And don't let your future be a rerun of what your past was. You decide to make a difference. And it's attitude. See, a little girl went to school that day, and it was kind of a stormy day, and she was supposed to get out of school pretty soon, and the mother was concerned because it was lightning and thundering. I mean, it was pretty bad. She said, I better go find her. And she's searching for her, and then she finds her a couple of blocks from home. She was in her car, the mother was, and she saw her daughter walking down the road, and she noticed that every time the lightning went off, see, it went off again, over and over again, her daughter would look up in the sky and smile. She said, what is she doing? And so she went and she picked her up, and the daughter was happy. She says, doesn't the storm scare you? No. She says, well, why every time that lightning go off did you look up in the sky and smile? And she said, well, God was taking pictures, and I wanted to look my best. It's all an attitude.
Perception.
And so she wasn't scared, but her mother was scared, you see, but the child wasn't, okay? Have you ever met a cynical baby? I don't think so. And so your self-image has been learned, the self-image you have, and so you can relearn it. You know, don't go with the red lights, go with the green lights. Break through those barriers that you can have. And look at the rainbows out there. Become the person you're meant to be. You know what else I learned as a photographer as I traveled around the world? If I wanted to photograph the rainbow, first I sit through the thunderstorm. Because it's only when I'm out in the rain that you have the rainbow. And that happens to be a lot in my life. Some of my best photographs have been at times that I had to take detours. Things didn't go right, and they wound up being the best things because it all goes back to an attitude. So you need to be proud to be who you are, okay? Yourself, me. Okay, so working on your self-image. Let me show you a little idea to do this. And because everybody, the first thing you got to do is start thinking about what successes have you had. So look at your age in years and go from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 plus. Put those numbers down, and then later on, look at what are things that you accomplished in your life during these time periods. Now, some of you won't be here yet. I never thought I would be there. You know what I learned? They did a, you know, people are always afraid to tell you their age. I don't understand that, why women won't tell you their age. They ought to be proud they made it this far. But they actually did a clinical study and proved that birthdays are healthy for you. Did you know that? The more you have, the longer you live. Think for a minute. And so, maybe a simple thing, like when I was 6 years old, I sold flower seeds door to door and made money for Christmas presents. At 7 years old, I sold Christmas cards with their names on it, door to door. You know, different things that you might have done. When I was 10 to 20, I wanted a trip to Disneyland from Texas to California when it was only like a year old. And so write down some things that you have done that's an accomplishment. And every one of you has some of those things, and they'll start making you feel good about yourself. And that's what you need to do, and then start multiplying it more and more and more. So you're unique, okay? And a happy place. Everybody needs a happy place. We were just at the log ride at Disney World yesterday. And you know, have you ever been on that one, Splash Mountain, some of you? Yeah. Yep. It says, find your laughing place. I just call it a happy place. And you have a happy place is somewhere you can go that nobody else is around and talk to yourself. A place you can affirmation to yourself. My happy place is in the bathtub. I don't have a picture of that. I have this cartoon. Lots of suds and a big tub, a jacuzzi tub. And I close the door so Ann can't hear me. And I have nice low music, soothing, and I talk to myself. And I say the things, and some of this is in our training. I actually give you examples of that. But you say things in the present tense of the person you want to be. Like I will say, I am a happy person. My family loves me because I love my family. I love my wife and my wife loves me. We have a happy marriage because I do good things for her and she does good things for me. Or if I'm going to do a meeting somewhere, I'll say good things. If I'm trying to work for a certain thing, what I'm going to do, but in the present tense. I say, I am wealthy. You see, you need to have a happy place, and your attitude is going to decide the directions in your life. So you got to start thinking like the person you want to be. If you want to break an addiction, start talking about how you really want to be. Not in the future, but present. Okay? And you got to do that. You need an attitude of gratitude. Every morning in my prayers and every evening, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be who I am and what I have. And you know, the prayers can be important. The dog is praying for the animal soft chews to come back. But you know, be grateful for your sight, for your hearing. Some people don't have that. The food that we have to eat, the air that we breathe, the new day that we have. Just have a grateful heart for things that we have. Don't find fault with things or fault with people. Because if we could understand what so many people go through, our attitude would be different towards them. I love this. He says, sometimes I ask myself, why am I the lucky one? If you can see that in the back, the two are upside down and one's right side up. Why am I the lucky one? See, it goes back to an attitude. Be grateful for what you have. Sometimes I could tell you stories of things that happened to me in my life that I thought my life was over. It can't get any worse than this. Now, that's for a future time. I like to come back sometime. It can be worked out on a Saturday, and maybe in the morning do English, and in the afternoon do Spanish or something. It's been like 4 hours. Yeah. I mean, there's things that happened to me. The story when I was sitting in the jail in Virginia Beach through no fault of my own, and I thought my life was over. I mean, how can it get any worse than this? Well, let me just tell you that. You probably want to hear the story now. I don't have a record, by the way.